feature presentation.
This is going to be a great event. It's going to be a history-making event.
You know, there's so much detail and so many people, so many moving parts that everybody has to work as a team.
Yeah, one of the things that we say is that we think that we should do a reality show about the making of a christening or some kind of special event. And, you know, we joke about it, but we work really hard. And during this, we didn't even have time to be filmed. That's why we're doing it now after the fact. There was no time, and you know, it's great to go back and relive it now after the fact. But I think we were very stressed as it was all taking place, and so in order to participate in something like this it probably wouldn't have been a good interview.
You really, you lay it out on paper, but until you actually see it starting to develop, you can't get a sense for how it's going to look, and what's going to work and what's not going to work.
I won't say anything really nasty right now. I'm glad you weren't down here yesterday.
You know, right off the bat, we had the huge flag that I went down there Tuesday morning and I knew immediately it had to go. And, you know, it causes so much concern, it delays setup, it upsets people who've worked very hard to get it into place. But you have to go with your gut. And I knew immediately that it wasn't going to work, and I immediately let Jennifer know, and she came down there and agreed 100%. But, you know, getting to the point of getting it out of there caused a lot of debate, a lot of concern, and, you know, some irritated people.
Hectic. It's full time, and with all the amount of changes you get, you got to be able to rebound real fast and just make it all happen. Because usually we only have about 2 or 3 days to set something like this up.
And I mean, it is a massive undertaking. It's something that we've actually been thinking about and planning for since 2012, even though the full committee didn't get together until about 6 months before.
The weather forecast, you know, it's typical summer.
You know, it's just, there are so many people involved. We could not do what we do without the support of the entire shipyard. And it really does take a team of hundreds. And, you know, from the person that's putting thousands of chairs out, you know, to the elevator operator, to Rhonda King, who's making sure that that site is built and looks beautiful. It's just, it's all of those people that come together, you know, and Brian, everything that I don't even know, I probably don't want to know what goes on down at the site. They kind of ban me from coming down there certain times during the week, but it all to me looked flawless.
We try to keep her away as long as we can, but you know, sometimes it's important because she has to, you know, ultimately it's her duty and her responsibility. So the site needs to be correct, and so while I try to keep her away, I do like to get her down there to give the thumbs up or something's got to change.
I am very honored to have all these people, on the team, and it takes teams and teams and teams of hundreds. It's not just a team of a dozen here. It is the collective effort of many to pull off something of this magnitude. There's a lot of things, a lot of challenges that get thrown at us at the drop of a hat, and we think we have a good plan and we're headed in that direction, and then things change. So we have to be very flexible, and we have to try to maintain our composure, because we know in the end it's all about putting on a good show and making the company look great, the great company that we are, showcase this fabulous ship, and put on an excellent show for our guests and for our shipbuilders.
This is actually the bottle break. She's actually going to strike and christen the boat with the sparkling wine, and that's a tradition that's been going on for thousands of years. I don't know that anybody else can get it done. I think we've got the best guys, the best shipbuilders, men and women here really on Earth, and to see something like this come together so quickly in the heat, rain, storms, everything, it's been very good.
Who are we? John Warner. What do we do? Go deep. Who, y'all? Who, y'all?
The whole thing with the heat was miserable. It was, if you felt like working down at the site that you had jumped in a pool, but it was not a refreshing thing at all. You were just soaking wet and it was nasty. It's just so typical when we're doing these events is, we always have to plan for the weather. And of course, I think it was Wednesday, maybe Thursday, we had a pretty bad storm. Partitions all blown over, chairs blown over, soaking wet. Hopefully the bow flag doesn't rip apart or anything like that. Calling Jennifer and I'm like, here we go again. But that's just like, we're already behind on the site setup and now this, and you just wonder if we're ever going to make it happen.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the christening of the John Warner SSN 785.
All right, Paul Clogus, one of our problems right now is nobody back here can hear anything. So we need to fix that. The technical walkthrough, it's really important. And everybody's so busy. I can't fault people for it, but we do talk about the importance of having stuff ready. And I think Jennifer's microphone wasn't there. They did not have audio for the stage, so when I'm talking in the microphone or Jennifer's talking in the microphone, all of our platform players couldn't hear what we were saying.
I don't know why there's not a camera just stuck right in the middle.
You need to film here, not back there.
Boom.
Saturday morning, Senator Warner had a little pinning ceremony. That was on the schedule. We talked about it. 2 minutes till 11, there's no microphone. I'm having to frantically call Paul and again, everybody's wrapped up in the goal, which is having a site set up and ready to go for a major ceremony. But there's still a lot of stuff that has to happen in between all that, and that's why we have the meetings.
I hope I can say Saturday night, when I look at Brian, he's got a smile on his face that we did it. But, I never feel that sense of relief until it's done.
no turning back. This is it.
I think that the whole team has come together, and you know, what you're going to see is really going to be magic.
It's exciting. Our folks, well, I didn't want to do it because I don't get paid, or, you know, I got to go to the King's Dominion and you got all these things going on. But it's very exciting. It's a one-time thing that some people don't get a chance to see a submarine or see what goes on to even get an event like that.
I am usually worried and stressed throughout the entire event, and I can't really relax.
It's done. Jennifer's here, the platform guests are here. It's almost like now it's in God's hands. Now it's in the Spirit's hands. It's in nature's hands. It's not up to us anymore. We have a lot of work and a lot of stuff to do behind the scenes to make it happen, but Jennifer is on stage. She's stuck there on stage. She can't, you know, come yell at me anymore. You know, it's done. It's done. And while that is in one way a good feeling to see Jennifer go on stage and say, ladies and gentlemen,
welcome to the christening of the John Warner, SSN.
In another way, it's also terrifying because there's so many things that I know that still need to happen, and so many moving parts and so many things that could happen.
And now, please welcome our ship sponsor, Mrs. Jeannie Warner, accompanied by her husband and SSN 785's namesake, Senator John Warner.
Even though I can't technically yell at him on stage when I'm on stage, I am positioned in the back of the stage, so I can yell at him on my BlackBerry if I need to, just to say what's going on or what's the weather report. And so, you know, but we try to pay attention to the ceremony, and we do, but I really can't enjoy it until I go home afterwards and watch it immediately on the webcast. And then I'm like, wow, it was a great event, and I can watch it without feeling stressed because I already know it was perfect.
We're here tonight to not just honor Jeannie and John Warner, we're honoring America.
We got the ceremony started like 14, 15 minutes late. And so, you know, we're into like 8 o'clock and I'm out in the audience. And I'm kind of listening, making sure everything's going good, checking the wind. And I look down at my phone and it's ringing. It's a number I didn't know. And on the other end of the line is the Coast Guard telling us that our fireworks show is canceled.
What? 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 Why?
Because we missed our window. We had on our sequence of events, I think, that the fireworks were going to take place from 7:45 to 8.
And so what did you tell them?
And they took that very seriously, and that was, I got all the paperwork from the Coast Guard.
Yeah.
And so, you know, why we have people like Carl Gray to read the fine print, because I'm like, okay, we've checked that box, we've got our fireworks approved from the Coast Guard. Well, I didn't read the fine print that it had to happen between 7:45 and 8 o'clock. So he gives me this phone number. I'm like, you talk about, you were white as a ghost when you walked back there. So I'm walking back there, and Jeremy and Kimberly see me, and they can see the concern in my face. And I'm like, Jeremy, write this number down. We've got to make a few calls. Okay, so if we do this and they tell us we can't, I'm not gonna we're gonna do it. And I will either go to jail or I will pay the fine. But you know, I'm like thinking to myself, okay, so I'm gonna talk to this Coast Guard person. I'm gonna be like, okay, President Bush just sent a letter of congratulations. The governor is here. Secretary Mavis is here. So you want the Coast Guard to be in the media saying that they canceled that. That's what I'm thinking to myself, trying to convince them. But We called them, they called back and said, you're good.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I introduce the star that has guided this old ship for a long time, Jeannie Warner.
The privilege of christening this submarine is most certainly a highlight of my life.
For this event, I will say that for me, my favorite part of the whole thing was the bottle break. I mean, I just thought it was so well done. The elevator was just amazing when they came up, and there was a audible gasp from the audience because they didn't know that that was going to happen. It was awesome. We were concerned about Jeannie's kind of left-handed bottle break. She had complained that she had a sore shoulder.
But part of it also was when she actually said the words,
I christen thee, United States ship, John Warner.
To hear the emotion in her voice, I mean, she had to kind of pause and take a moment to collect herself. And I think in that moment, it just shows me how special this is, not just for the shipyard and the sailors, but this truly means so much to the Warner family. And that, to me, just kind of summed up, you know, the emotion that they probably were all feeling.
May God bless the ship and all who sail with her.
She walloped that thing, and it was fantastic. And I can say that was the most happy I was at the whole event with that bottle break.
For me, when it's all said and done, it's a very rewarding experience, but part of what makes it so rewarding is just knowing how hard the team worked, and it's people from all across the entire shipyard who have come together to make an incredible and historical event that, you know, people will remember for the rest of their lives. Children that were in the audience are going to probably remember this forever. And I am not personally a fan of fireworks. I get very nervous around them, but I have to say that when the fireworks began for this, I was really caught up in the moment, and it felt magical. And I did not worry that something was going to catch on fire. I wasn't worried that the wind had shifted and the fireworks were a little bit closer. I didn't even notice any of that. I mean, in that moment, I felt like I was a guest watching the event as opposed to the person in charge of it. And that was a really unique experience for me, and something that I don't often get during a ceremony. And you know, for just a brief moment, I looked at the site, at the fireworks, at the Warners, and I truly felt like we have just made history, and this is something that we all need to be very proud of. We don't really know yet what's in store for us for Washington or Indiana or Delaware, because we haven't really started doing the research about those states. We haven't started the conversations with the sponsor about what her hopes and dreams are for the event, but that's kind of what makes it fun. No two events are the same, and while that can be frustrating to some, I think we see that as a challenge and an opportunity to make each one of these very, very special.
John Warner, what do we do? Go deep! Hoo-yah! Hoo-yah!
the other end of the line is Coast Guard telling us that our fireworks show is canceled.
What? 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 When I get emails that say the entire site has blown down, I pretty much am like, whatever. It's like drama queen, but
I don't have the sheets, so I don't know where my stuff went.
Sure, he's the truck driver. So I won't say anything really nasty right now. I'm glad you weren't down here yesterday.
One of the funny texts that Jennifer did send me was Senator Warner, who gave a fantastic speech, but as I said, we had started overtime as it was. But so we're worried about it being dark enough for the fireworks. Oh, we were worried. Jennifer sent me a text asking what time sunrise is. So we were no longer worried about sunset. We're now worried if the sun's going to come up.
Jennifer, where are you? How much time do I have?
You know, one of the things I always say is I can do this with no lighting, I can do it with no jumbotrons, but I cannot do it without a microphone. All right, Paul Clogus, one of our problems right now is nobody back here can hear anything. So we need to fix that.
I will say that the lining of the platform guests, everything about this platform was just difficult. I mean, they were having a party. And I mean, Brian says that when I showed up to the site, I looked white as a ghost, and he's like, what's wrong? And there was nothing wrong. I was just stressed from having to deal with like herding cats the whole night.
So should I say this?
Don't say it all the way. Just say, I christened the...
Okay, I christened the United States ship John Warner.
Okay.
Stop. Don't finish it. Okay.
Okay.
And then... Yeah, and I will say you did a better job of that in general, because typically when I'm at the reception and I'm like busy getting everyone checked in, I always get a text from Brian that says it's a cluster down here. Yeah. Or, with always some kind of problem, and I'm like, great.
6:50, Jennifer didn't see her water annoyed with me.
Don't film the
wall. I don't have anything else. Cool. Good. I am.
I think. Is there enough funny?